to Bad Larry.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Bad Larry Kingdom. I'm your host, Bad Larry. Today's episode will start the Muir Island Saga, a 5-part miniseries. Part 1 starts in Uncanny X-Men number 278. Let's check it out. This issue comes from Chris Claremont and Paul Smith on the pencils. This cover shows that Paul Smith is almost a great artist. He nailed Strong Guy's misproportions very well, and he made Rogue look cool, but you can tell there's just something missing with this cover. It's like having a hot dog without any mustard or ketchup. Just feels incomplete. The Shadow King, along with Mr. Sinister, were always the villains I was most scared of when I was a kid reading these comics. I think it's just the shark-like teeth. Here we see the Shadow King along with the Shadow Queen, Lian Shen. Oh, Dr. Lian Shen. Everyone's a freaking doctor here. Just chilling in the Shadow Realm. The Shadow King plans another attack on the world, looking to use fear as his catalyst. The Shadow King demonstrates that throughout human history, humans fought each other over the dumbest reasons: race, religion, politics, etc. The Shadow King plans to just nudge the humans like the devil nudges us into acting out violence based on these silly fears of each other, and then finally bring down his greatest foe, Professor X and the X-Men. The Shadow King's motivation is typical. He is the king of the Shadow Realm and desires to also rule the real world, tale as old as time. What is funny though is Lian Shen's face when she raw dogged Shadow King with facts, saying he's always been beaten by Professor X. Boy, she has some gumption, right? Shadow King snatches her ass up like, who you think you're talking to, crazy SA? But then Shadow King actually acknowledges Professor X is his best foe, and Lian again has to rub it in his face he's never beaten Professor X. I mean, does this lady have a death wish or what? But this time Shadow King says, true, true. Lian Shen is wild for poking the bear like that. But it seems this time Shadow King has a better plan of attack. We head over to England, the hangar bay of the WHO. No, not the World Health Organization. This is the Weird Happenings Organization. I guess they're like England's not so great version of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think. Anyway, there is an intruder on the premises, and that intruder is going after the X-Men's Blackbird plane, or Excalibur's Blackbird plane? Anyway, someone is trying to steal the Blackbird. The gold armor and helmet style gives it right away. This is definitely Shi'ar technology armor, and who else with telepathic powers who has connection with Shi'ar and knows the Blackbird? It's obviously Professor X there inside the armor. He subdues a few guards. The armor is scrambling the comm system, but in a moment of lost focus, the soldiers blast Professor X with a powerful gun, knocking him on his ass. But the armor is too strong. Professor X is hurt, but he needed the soldiers to get closer in order to use his telepathy. You see, there's a psychic scrambling going on the base. He has one soldier give the all-clear order, allowing Professor X to get onto the Blackbird. The soldiers think it's a mistake. The Blackbird security system is too hard to get around. They don't think that whoever's on the plane will be able to take off, heck, even get the thing started. But this is Professor X's plane. He knows it like the back of his hand. Suddenly, an unnatural mist and cloud covering encapsulates the entire base, allowing the Blackbird to lift off vertically. The soldiers know they ain't never seen that thing again, because once it's gone, baby. And now we get into some meat and potatoes. Muir Island, a research island just off the tip of Scotland, which is run by a geneticist named Moira MacTaggart. We should all be familiar with her and that name by now, but she does research on mutants, lets wayward mutants come to the island and live there, and for funsies, has them compete a la gladiator style in an arena where they can go full on fighting each other. She is sitting up there on a throne like she is Emperor Nero or something, while Rogue and Strong Guy, who is possessed by the Shadow King currently, FYI, are fighting each other, going full out. Strong Guy looks to be winning, The other mutants watching, Legion, Siren, and Multiple Men, they all look possessed as well, right? The energy around them, it just seems off. Multiple Man is all hyped up saying he wants to see the blood. These three are also clearly possessed by the Shadow King, along with Moira MacTaggert at this point. It's always the trash talking that gets you in trouble. Rogue pulls the Rocky move, knocked down just to come back with the Fury. Rogue totally lets loose and completely overpowers Strong Guy. Just to mention Paul Smith's art here once again, it's that whack karate kick. This fight scene could have been epic, but it just leaves a bit to be desired. It's too simple. Everyone is cheering for Rogue. Rogue is cheering for herself. Both her and Strong Guy are all bloodied up, and that's when Rogue starts to feel like something is off. Siren comes up and says, "It's all good. The arena fighting is like their version of the Danger Room. This is how the devil lies. He confuses you with half-truths and justifications and doublespeak to keep you off balance mentally. That's how you know for sure Siren is possessed by Shadow King. Their compliance with this style of training." Then Siren says it was all Moira's idea, then confirming that Moira is possessed by Shadow King as well. We move back to the Blackbird. The man takes off the shiny gold helmet to confirm it is indeed Professor X at the helm. Those shots he took from the soldiers, no diddy, really left him bruised up, but no mind, and we see it was Storm who laid down that cloud cover to allow Professor X to take off. Storm then leads Professor X to the X-Men, which are located on an adjacent island right next to Muir Island. Wolverine here is patching up Professor X, and this is to show that Professor X is a tough dude. He has no healing factor like Wolverine, and his ribs are pretty messed up, but he says they need to keep on keeping on. This image of Storm is not Paul Smith's best. Where is the depth of her face? She looks just off. Anyway, Professor X says the X-Men need to figure out what's going on with the Moira and what's going on with her little Muir Island. So the X-Men are now going to be on a recon mission. It's the eyes. If you can't get the eyes right, the whole drawing is whack. I think Paul Smith struggles some, as you could see here. Rogue is in the shower. She's horrified at herself for liking the ass whooping she put on Strong Guy so much, and she wonders why she craves more of it. She wipes the mirror to reveal the Shadow King's presence. Well, not in the real world, but still the Shadow Realm. And the point is that Shadow King drew Rogan. She has to willingly go to the dark side, allow the evil to overtake her, culminating in this nasty kiss with the Shadow King, which represents that she is now possessed by him as well. The Shadow King has amassed himself quite an army of powerful mutants at this point. It's go time for the X-Men. They are approaching Muir Island. Everybody has to launch. Forge does some forgy things to override the island's defenses and tracking system, and off the X-Men go to figure out what's what with Muir Island. Jubilee riding Wolverine like a pony. It's silly but fun. It shows their connection, her personality. Storm and Gambit are last to jump. Professor X says he's cool going off on his own. Don't worry about what he's doing. He clearly has a plan he hasn't shared with the rest of the X-Men yet. Banshee's on Muir Island, stalking around Moira MacTaggert's personal quarters. It's kind of hard being stealthy when you got this bright-ass yellow outfit on. But I learned here before Banshee joined the X-Men, he used to be a cop. So he's trained in detective tactics. He's in Moira's office, which is his current girlfriend at the moment. And Moira was previously Professor X's girlfriend, so that's weird, right? Anyway, but Banshee's a vet. He puts aside his personal feelings. He's got a job to do. And then he finds this very strange suit of armor that is clearly being actively used by Moira. He wonders, WTF is going on here on this island? What's Moira hiding? Psylocke has the Overwatch and uses her telepathy to inform the entire X-Men team of what's going on. She is seeing the gladiator-style fighting going on right now, and Forge finds there's a powerful someone or something being held prisoner down below. But before we find out more, we move to Legion, who is possessed by the Shadow King. who uncovers Storm's presence. Legion uses his multiple power sets to literally set Storm on fire. I don't know how she could survive this attack. The problem with being a psychic or telepath and connected to everyone on the team, you feel their pain as they're experiencing it. Psylocke screams as she feels Storm's pain. Banshee sees Storm falling to earth in a fireball. How in the world are we supposed to believe Storm survives this? As Banshee launches through the window to fly to Storm's rescue, he is hit with his daughter's scream attack from the back. Siren hits Banshee with the "Daddy, it's me" line, throwing him totally off his game, which allows the possessed Siren to knock her daddy right out. Gambit is creeping around elsewhere like he does, and how is he caught by Multiple Man? Gambit is a pro stealth thief. I don't think he would have been caught so easily in this scenario. He throws a kinetic card at Multiple Man. All it does is create a copy. I thought Multiple Man could create clones at will, not just when he's hit. Anyway, how is Gambit going to beat this guy? Paul Smith's art, just a tad not good enough. I see what he's trying to do here, though. Wolverine has a super smeller, and Paul Smith is trying to create this idea that Wolverine is walking around on all fours trying to keep the scent. It just comes out looking real silly, though, especially when Wolverine is wearing this current costume. Wolverine knows something is off with Rogue and attacks. Out of nowhere, Amanda Stewardess, aka Demon Sorceress, pops up and launches a demon attack against Jubilee. This page is real interesting. Professor X has basically abandoned his X-Men in Muir Island to fly the Blackbird all the way back to the X-Mansion, which is currently destroyed. This little detour by Professor X, it's hella far! 3,300 miles! It's not like he just went around the corner. He traveled halfway across the world just to what? Check on his school? Kinda not great leadership in my opinion. Why not stay closer to the X-Men for support? Anyway, as Professor X is boo-hooing his destroyed school, a car with some huge figure actively destroying the moving car is hurling towards him. The car barely misses hitting Professor X and crashes with a huge explosion. Professor X runs toward the wrecked, burning car. His telepathy can't detect any survivors because there's all this psychic static everywhere, which is caused by the Shadow King. There's psychic interference everywhere. He does recover Stevie Hunter, the dancer turned teacher at the school. And before Professor X can get any answers from her, the Shadow King unveils himself to Professor X, says the game is on, Baldy, and he already has a cadre of some of his mutants and allies possessed, and that his X-Men are all currently defeated. Shadow King thinks he has Professor X checkmated. Not only that, the hulking figure that created the car crash is indeed Colossus, who's also possessed by the Shadow King. And Colossus is on his way, like the Terminator, to kill both Stevie Hunter and then Professor X. What a great issue! I read these issues as a kid, and this is the first time in nearly 30 years revisiting them. So for me, it's almost like reading them for the first time. My adult brain can process things better in these stories than when I was a kid. I can understand them better. I was always aware of the Muir Island story, but never really knew the details as such. So this is a super fun experience for me. Stay tuned for part 2 of the Muir Island saga coming real soon in Uncanny X-Men number 279. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you real soon. Peace!